Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Got a special guest on today, the true Geordie. We're just saying there, you don't do shows, so you've always said you're not the biggest fan channel anyway, so I'm not coming on, and now we are. So here you are.
There you go. To be honest, I'm not a fan of fan channels, but yours, I just find myself watching a bit. I do. Especially, I also like the highlight package of after the games where I can see just like basically you being miserable. It's fantastic. And also, I'm very appreciative of the 20 grand you've paid me to do this.
Yeah.
So let's get that paid before we carry on with the rest of it.
Yeah, my wife's not. No holidays for 10 years, but catch me while you can. Lawrence, look as well. You're on next time, Lawrence. You better come on for the Liverpool game.
I'd love to, yeah. Hope you're well, Mark.
Thanks, Lawrence.
So weird.
People are just worried if you're ever separated. You're like Siamese twins. You just joined at the
end. Yeah, we're conjoined. Did you ever see those that conjoined twin porn? Did you ever see that?
No.
We'll watch that later. It's brilliant.
No, I'm all right.
I like that this is going. I like this going. Right, let's get in. Newcastle versus Liverpool. I suppose the battle is who's the shittest, Newcastle or United?
Oh yeah. I mean, we're definitely the shittest. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But on a given day, you might be worse than us, especially because your away record is terrible. And we've just come off the back of a 5-0 hammering. And in theory, you think, surely you're going to get a bit of a reaction from the lads. So therefore, it's got draw written all over it, hasn't it?
It has. There's a lot of Manchester United fans, we'll talk about social in a minute, but there's a lot of United fans who are adamant that Newcastle are going to win this game. And you've scored 4 goals this season. You're struggling to score goals. We're quite good defensively. I think we're going to win. I do. I think I'm assuming Newcastle are absolutely shit, which is why we get a Newcastle fan on, such as yourself. Very opinionated. Is it hope rather than reality? You will have seen them more than I have.
I just don't think we've got a plan, mate. And that's one main problem there. Like, obviously, last season, under Rafa, it was very clear. Be organised, keep it tight at the back, and nick goals when you can. We're never going to create a great deal. Now, that organisation clearly isn't there. We just lost 5-0. And the creativity isn't there either. So I don't see how. It reminds me of when we were managed by Steve McLaren. In that, I don't see how we can win any game, let alone a game against Man United, who obviously they're not the best Man United to be in, but they've still got decent players there who can destroy you on any given day.
I think it'd be an interesting experiment, and I think they should do it tomorrow just to make it a little bit more interesting, because I think it could have 0-0 or 1-0 written all over it. I think at the start of the game, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should take over Newcastle and Steve Bruce should take over United, and it can sort of like just to give it a bit of interest, because we ain't got a plan either. And I think that would be quite interesting. But just on the topic of Bruce, you were not a fan of his anyway, were you?
Well, I think he's a lovely bloke. Actually, he comes across as a nice guy, but that doesn't mean jack shit in this game. He's got the worst win record of a Premier League manager who's got over 300 games in management. He's at 27%. So the facts speak for themselves, mate. I'm dealing in facts there. And ultimately, the players aren't good enough. He isn't good enough. I don't see anything other than relegation at the moment. My only hope is that some players who are young and who are struggling to bed in, Almiron, Joe Linton. There's a player we've got called Saint Maximin.
He's brilliant on FIFA. He's brilliant. I was going to ask you about him. He's brilliant on FIFA.
Well, he's fast on FIFA. He's effective, and I think he can be like that in real life. But these are players who haven't had the time to bed in yet. It's not happening. But maybe one game coming, they click. And that's when we get a win or we nick a result. But I'm living on like a prayer. I'm like Madonna here.
I nearly said Bon Jovi, but you're right. Living on a prayer. Whoa.
That's got Bon Jovi, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
Just like the prayer, it's Madonna.
I know my 80s music better than you.
Well, you're a bit older than me, Mark, but we'll not go there.
I don't think people would believe that. I think that's a bit of a myth. But apparently, this is a story. Steve Bruce lives around Dorwich, which is not far away from me. Apparently he's not a nice bloke. He went into the chip shop and shoved his way to the front and said, "Who am I? Do you know who I am?" He's probably their best
To
customer,
be-
though.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I would imagine it's got nothing to do with the fact that he's a manager. He just loves chips. He's a known chip lover.
Yeah.
If you look at the state of him, and I don't like criticising people for their looks, but if you were going to, you'd start with Steve Bruce, wouldn't you? He's not a handsome man, as managers go. He's a throwback to the old school, and you've got the new Mourinho and Guardiola, and then you've just got bloodshot face, smashed nose, God bless him. And he just hasn't looked after himself. Do you know what I mean?
I love his press conferences because he always comes in and sits down like he's just been told his entire family been kidnapped or something like that, or his dog's died.
Well, yeah, he also comes out with things that are just ultimate cliches of football managers. Like I was just watching beforehand, he was like, "Well, what does he say, Lars? There's always a storm at Newcastle."
There's always a storm.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, there's a storm at Newcastle." He was like, "Well, there's always a storm at Newcastle." I was like, "Are you trying to sit here and justify the fact that we're shit because we've always been shit?" Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just not. I mean, last season was pretty plain sailing. Actually, he's talking shit. So yeah, mate, I'm not holding out much hope for the game.
From your manager to my manager, we had a chat before about. Sorry, I've just lost you there. We had a chat before about when I was on the kickoff about Solskjaer, and it was prime Ollie's at the wheel. Lawrence was loving life as a Liverpool fan. You had Benitez, you were staying up, and I was there thinking, this is the right man at United. You obviously do a lot of content on your channel away from Newcastle, otherwise it wouldn't be very successful, would it? So, what are your thoughts about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
I'll have I've done big videos on Newcastle before, but yes, you're right. To be honest with you, from day one, and people can go back and check, I was never a believer in Solskjaer.
I remember you saying it, that's why I brought it up, yeah.
Did you hear me there?
Yeah, I said I remember you saying it when I was on, which is purposely why I've asked you, so you
Sorry,
can smoke, yeah.
We'll cut that. But when it started going well, I thought, all right, fair enough. But I had flashbacks of like when Pardew did well for Newcastle, and then within 6 months the wheels well and truly fell off, and we were sitting there for the longest time clutching at the fact that remember when it was good the first 6 months, and it really reminded me of that period because ultimately, as it was proven with Pardew, you can have an impact as a manager and be shit. You can have an impact as a manager and have bad tactics. Players can just respond to a change of character in the dressing room. But that wears off eventually. And ultimately, I think like Bruce, he comes across as a nice guy, Ollie, but at Manchester United, there's a level of tactics that you're expected to have an understanding of. We're talking world class, always. And I just don't think that Ollie can sit there and against some of the managers who you'd expect to be managing Man United and sit there and go, I can go head with you on tactics. He just can't. I would be looking at someone. Who did I say the other day? Was a Bayern Munich manager? What's his name again? Oh, he's won 3 cups, man. He's won 3 European Cups.
I don't know. I don't know his name either. Google it.
No, not Kovac. He used to manage Bayern. He managed Real Madrid. He was manager of Real Madrid before Zinedine Zidane.
Things
the one
on your
before
buzzers.
Rafa.
Quickest person first.
We'll edit this out. Can you edit this out?
I like to keep it in. It makes it better. But Lawrence, show yourself off now as the intelligent guy. Get on Google. But I don't know. I don't even know who the man
He
is.
won 3 fucking European Cups. I've just said not Zidane.
People at home will be going, "Arr!" They know nothing. These representatives on YouTube, look at them, they know nothing.
Yeah, I'm not representing anyone.
No,
it's one of my favourite managers, and I can't even remember his name.
Allardyce.
Allardyce. He's an Italian.
Ancelotti.
That's
Ancelotti.
it. Sorry.
Yeah.
For me, I always thought
he's good.
that with the way Ancelotti plays. And he likes to attack. It reminds me a lot of Sir Alex Ferguson in that style. And I always sort of thought that they'd go for someone like him who was proven. And some of the arguments that we had when I was criticising the appointment of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was like, well, we've tried proven. And I'm like, what the fuck am I hearing? Like, and I got it. Like, something different is often the way forward. But at Man United, you need to have the the experience to hang at that level. Even David Moyes, who'd had a very good time at Everton and done very well, provably wasn't up to the job. He wasn't ready for that job. Van Gaal, it was a bit too much for him. Even Mourinho struggled. So it's going to take a hell of a manager, and Ollie just isn't going to be it. But at the end of the day, if he'd been supported in the transfer market the way he should have been, maybe it wouldn't be quite as bad as it is right now. The fact that you're relying on Rashford, Martial, and the young kid Greenwood, to me, that's mental. And you're looking at Pereira to create something. Juan Mata, who isn't the player he was, and the other, the Welsh kid on the left side. There's just nowhere near the level of proven, guaranteed delivery, and I think they've taken a massive risk this season, and the board have gotten away with it big time in terms of criticism from the fans. I know they're getting criticised, but there should have been a fucking uproar. The lack of investment in that team. I think it was only 70 million net spend, which for Man United is nothing.
No. I mean, there's a lot of similarities between our club and your club. You're still stuck with Mike Ashley. I mean, what's happening with that? Is he still trying to sell it? I mean, fans still turn up every week. It's the same with United. I agree that, you know, there should be more of an uproar. I mean, Ollie's sort of been hung out to dry with the Ollie out thing, which I really don't want to do because, like you say, there's so many reasons why. I mean, his football's crap. Let's be honest. His football is crap, and he deserves that criticism. And actually, if you research what he did at Cardiff, this is very, very reminiscent. And the Alan Pardew thing you said there. But it does come down to the ownership as well. And your club's had this for a lot longer than us.
Well, with Newcastle, we tried sort of marches and protests, but it wouldn't work because there's just too many die-hard fans who will not go to a game. But what you're seeing is apathy has set in, and less people are going. There's more and more empty seats. Less people give a fuck because ultimately, you want to be entertained every now and then as a football fan. You're not expecting glorious football every game. Even under Fergie at Man United, it wasn't like that. But you want to be entertained. But when you're turning up week in, week out as a fan and watching shit, you start questioning why. Do you know what I mean? And I think that you're seeing that with Newcastle now. As die-hard as our fan base is, there's just people going, fuck it. I'll rather stay in. It's going to be raining today. Fuck that.
There's not a lot to do in Newcastle, though, is there, really, other than to go to the football? That's what I've heard.
Well, similar to Manchester, mate. Probably why you don't live there.
Good answer. Well, I was just going to say that, I do empathise with the hardcore fans that go every week because that's me. Rain or shine, I'm there in Manchester, sat watching a game. But look, there was a question I wanted to ask. I want to talk about Sean Longstaff, but I want to ask you, as a non-United fan, how bad is it at United now? What would be your 3 players that you would take from United, and are you taking them on reputation, or do you actually think we've got good players now that you take the whole team at Newcastle, but pretend it's like a decent side. What 3 players?
Yeah, to be honest with you, that's the thing. I think there's quite a lot of players at Man United who are living on the fact that they wear a red shirt and that boosts their supposed level. If you put Lingard in that Newcastle team, I think people would really see him for what he is. Do you know what I mean? And that happened for years, but now it's just becoming even more clear. In terms of the ability of the team, obviously you've got Pogba, who's the shining star. Martial, I think, can be a top player. I've seen when he feels like it, he's fucking unbelievable. I think Rashford isn't the player we thought he was going to be, but still a good player. McTominay actually impressed me a bit in the last game we watched against. Who was that against? My memory's getting found out. Yeah, he scored. Yeah, who did it? Arsenal. Sorry, I thought McTominay had a good game against Arsenal. And they've midfield-wise, I always look at this Man United midfield and think of the great midfielders you've had and how it's just been neglected so badly. You got Matic there, who's well past the sell-by date. But if I was going to pick a few, David De Gea would be one. And I think Maguire's good. Martial, Rashford. They're the best players. But ultimately, if I was in charge of Man United, you need that guarantee And that's what they haven't gone for. They've gone for future potential, and that's great. And I admire the change of attitude. But the problem is, you're not good. Too many players aren't good enough right now to actually carry on while the potential develops.
Lawrence can jump in if he wants, because I'm hoping he's not neglected. I know he's not. I know you don't.
I'm fine, Mark.
Yeah, sometimes he gets locked in a cage, I've heard, and stuff like that. But where are United going to finish? I want to ask both of you this. Where are United going to finish in the league this season?
Realistically, I think unless you got, if you keep Solskjaer, the best you can hope for is 7th. I think that's the best you can hope for.
Yeah, there's a lot of caveats here because you're talking about January transfer window, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. To me, they're massive changing factors because I think Solskjaer will be sacked and I think money will be spent, and it's really difficult. But it could be anywhere between 5th and 12th for me. If I was going to put money on it now, I'd probably say 8th.
I was saying 9th at one point, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, just to get, I've been saying this on the show for a while, and I pretty much, things change, but Manchester United are absolutely desperate not to sack him, whereas a year ago with Mourinho, or no, he'd had a lot longer, they were sort of verging on it for a while, but with Ole, I don't think he'll be gone before Christmas, but we'll see.
I don't think they want to, because ultimately, a little bit like Pardew when he was given an 8-year contract by Mike Ashley, when you've got a yes man who is going to say all the right things and ultimately not go mental when he doesn't get the investment he wants, like he probably should do, not attack the players, not be as outspoken to be a good company man, you want to keep him on. I mean, that's what management or chairman like Ashley and the Glazers want. But unfortunately, if results carry on going the way they are, I don't think they'll have much choice because it will get embarrassing. For Man United, like they're not used to being in this position. And for the record, with Solskjaer, I was saying at the start of the season I didn't think Man United would get top 6. So I wasn't, a lot of people got swept away after the first win against Chelsea, but I seen the holes in that game because Chelsea had many chances. And the main thing for Man United this season, I think they played quite well at times against Arsenal, and I'm sure they've played well at times against teams, but I haven't watched a game personally, and you can tell me if you have, where I thought, yeah, they ran that. They were dominant. They were the best team clearly in that game. They owned that. I haven't felt that way. For Man United, that's just, after this amount of games, bizarre.
It's interesting that, and I've never heard anybody put it like that, but you're spot on, because I look back to Spurs in January where we won 1-0, and the second half we sat back and they had loads of chances. I don't think we've dominated really any team for a long time. Not a decent team.
Yeah.
PSG was smash and grab.
Yeah, well, this is Man United. So you look at the win. I've watched, obviously on the kickoff, I've watched their wins this season against Leicester. I mean, Leicester just fell asleep in that game and allowed that game to pass them by. But neither team was better than the other. Chelsea win the same. Arsenal could have won that game. So I just think for Man United, you expect them to at least dominate one side in 10, 11 games. Still waiting on that.
The thing I really want to talk to you about, and I know a lot of our followers will as well, is this obsession that United seem to have with Sean Longstaff. We wanted him in the summer, right from early doors, right from when the Dan James rumours started, the Longstaff rumours started. He's had a bad injury. I think in the summer he'd only played about 10 games for Newcastle. Is he good? And what's good about him? Or United just got some weird obsession that they think they can make it into something?
All right. So if we're basing it on that 10-game period that he had, and as a young lad who'd just been thrown in the Premier League and, is a nobody, he looked fucking fantastic. He looked like a midfielder who could control a game, who could tackle, who could bring it forward, who could shoot, who could open the game up, who could pass. It reminded you a bit of like a Steven Gerrard type of style of play. I'm not saying he's anywhere near as good as Steven Gerrard. I'm just saying in that mould, that is the way those 10 games were. That's how he was playing. If he can carry that on is anyone's guess. To me, it was another very, like the James signing, could go great, and it's I think it's admirable of Man United to have the attitude of going out and signing young players and building a team. But still, you're taking massive risks while you don't have proven can do it right now talent in the first team. So I think that what they should have done is probably leave him at Newcastle for another season and monitor him, because we sold Andy Carroll after 11 games to Liverpool, and look how that worked out. Like, Man United should not be signing someone who's so green when we're going to charge you fucking 40 million for him, and he could be shit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've literally, I've got to hold my hands up here. I literally did the YouTube clips in the summer, and I thought it was a combination of Lampard, Darren Fletcher, and every other player that you've seen over the last 10 years. But no, it is interesting. There is an obsession with him, and I think United will go back in for him. So will he actually start? Is he a starter then? Will he play tomorrow?
I'm not sure what his fitness is like, but if he's fully fit, he would start. But yeah, in terms of what Man United need, in theory, you'd say Carrick, Keane, those top midfielders that you have had who can control a game. You'd think he might be that guy. He might turn out to be it, but signing him now, I don't know. I think it would be desperate.
Brilliant. Okay, well, look, I really appreciate you coming on, True Geordie, Brian, and it's a pleasure to get you on, because I know you don't do it very often, but really do appreciate it. And I know
let's do this more often.
Lawrence is going to come on for the Liverpool game.
I am, Mark, and I'd just love to do this more often. Honestly, I just like hearing Mark's voice.
Yeah, mate, and also keep on doing your personal channel. I like that as well. And yeah, I'll do the next one, and we'll see you on the kickoff soon, pal.
Oh,
thank you.
All right.
And thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate that. Right, I've ended it there. Really appreciate that. Thanks for coming on.